So everyone here at the Abbey has, at least the older monastics, have spent a good amount of time studying and reflecting and meditating on the afflictions like anger and attachment and ignorance and pride. What about jealousy? Have you spent as much time on jealousy as you have the others? There's not a lot of information about jealousy in the Lam Rim or many of the texts that we study. Most of what I know about jealousy has come directly from talks by Venerable Children and the little bit of reflection I've done on it. Many months ago now, I put my hand up to produce a series of talks, 10-minute talks on working with jealousy for Insight Timer. And my only regret is that it has taken me so long to get started on it because I've learned a lot by doing it. And Venerable Damcha put together this wonderful outline for me to work with based on some of Venerable's talks. I've learned so much about the characteristics of jealousy and some of its causes, a lot of its disadvantages, and also some of its antidotes. So like many of the afflictions, we may initially think we don't have a big problem with it when we start working with it until we take a closer look, and then we see it everywhere, right? That's certainly been my experience with jealousy. I haven't had a lot of big jealousy in my life, but I'm starting to recognize there's lots of little jealousies that add up. The first Dalai Lama must have been onto jealousy because in his verses on the 8 dangers that was added to our Green Tara Sadhana, he writes this: lurking in its dark pit of ignorance, unable to bear the wealth and excellences of others, it swiftly injects them with its cruel poison, the snake of jealousy. Please protect us from this danger. So jealousy is a mental state that, out of attachment to respect and material gain, is unable to bear the good qualities, possessions, opportunities, or virtues of others. And it involves hatred and has the function of causing discomfort of mind and not abiding in contact with happiness. So there's a lot in that definition. It's a mental state. I think it's easy for some people to over-identify with jealousy, thinking, oh, I'm such a jealous person. But jealousy is a state of mind. It comes and it goes. It's impermanent. We're not jealous 100% of the time. And so it's very different to think, oh, jealous thoughts are arising in my mind right now. That can help us to create some space. So that part of the definition can help to loosen our grasping at over-identifying with jealousy. Due to attachment to respect or material gain. That's kind of hard to admit, isn't it? But this shows us that jealousy is necessarily involved with attachment. So there's necessarily affliction involved, there's distortion involved of some kind. We're exaggerating the happiness from having the focus of our jealousy, the focus of our jealousy, and convinced that we can't be happy as long as someone else has that and we don't. Whether it's love, respect, admiration, or maybe affection from a particular person, or social standing, status, praise, followers on Instagram, or more tangible possessions. Someone else has a better smartphone than I do, or whatever the case may be. And if attachment is involved, necessarily there's clinging, right? Then the third part of the definition, it's unable to bear the good qualities, possessions, opportunities, or virtues of others. So here we see that jealousy is involved or associated with anger or hostility because we resent that someone else has what we want. Whether that's, the attention of somebody or some possession or quality, and we can't bear it. It's uncomfortable. It starts burning us, Often leads to thoughts of wanting to deprive them of having the thing that we want or destroy their happiness. That's not very pretty. That's not easy to admit. And even if we manage to keep our jealous thoughts to ourselves, we're still going to be unhappy because we're out of integrity, right? We're indulging them, especially. So Socrates said that jealousy is the ulcer of the soul. They didn't have cancer back then, but so we may think that we know ourselves pretty well, but often we're unaware of the thoughts and emotions, our thoughts and emotions, and how they impact us. Especially with jealousy, we may be so caught up in focusing on the object that we're jealous of, or the person we're jealous of, that we're blind to what's happening in our own mind. So having a good working definition of jealousy is helpful. And then next we have to look at how to begin catching it when it arises in our mind. So we can think about, how does it impact our body? Do you know? What are the clues that the body gives us that jealousy has arisen in our mind? Are there knots in our stomach? Or maybe we wake up at 3 a.m. ruminating about our jealousy, or maybe it produces headaches. How does it arise for you? And what kind of thoughts can alert us? Do we start having thoughts of anxiety, obsessive thoughts, possessive thoughts, thoughts of low self-esteem, hateful thoughts, thoughts of revenge towards our jealous object? And what are the feelings behind those? Is there vulnerability? Is there fear? Is there, sadness, self-aversion? What is it? What's going on? And then what behaviors can alert us to jealousy in our mind? Are we starting to stalk someone or spy on them? Maybe looking at our partner's history on their computer to see what they've been doing, or interrogating people. Where have you been? Who have you been with? How long? Why? Maybe that's a clue. Or slandering people, the people that we're jealous of. Maybe we start to slander them to our friends, our coworkers, or doing other things to get people's attention, get their approval. So find out what's true for you. What do you do when you feel jealous? That's the important thing. So we need to pay attention and get to know the clues. And then comparison. One sure thing that fuels our jealousy is the comparing mind, comparing ourselves with others. And it's pretty natural to compare ourselves with others. Probably it's an evolutionary trait that we needed to make sure we could hang on to our mating partner. But in this day and age of social media, my gosh, we can now compare ourselves with world-class athletes and Brazilian supermodels and, billionaires and millionaires and entrepreneurs from all over the world. So no wonder we're feeling a bit anxious and inadequate from all that comparison. And how do you think that's going to work out? So as Venerable has reminded us, comparing starts quite young. Maybe we felt jealous of an older sibling when they got to do things we couldn't do, or maybe we were jealous of a younger sibling who got special perks from mom and dad, or got to do things that we never got away with murder. My brother did. One of my first jealous thoughts is being jealous of my sister's ice skates when I only had rubber boots to skate around on. So probably we all have our first memory of when we were aware of jealousy. And then, of course, what comes up in the mind, as the Venerable reminds us, is it's not fair. And so, someone got to stay up later than I did. Someone got to go spend the night with their friend, and I didn't get to do that. It's not fair. And so we grow up with this mentality of life's just not fair, and we carry that into adulthood. We even carry that to the monastery, don't we? Why does Venerable praise so-and-so but not me? Why can so-and-so use internet in her bedroom but I can't? Why does so-and-so get to travel with Venerable but I don't? It's not fair. So there are many antidotes to the comparing mind that we need to explore to help cut it off at the pass. But we can begin to see how comparison can easily lead to jealousy, and then jealousy can easily lead to self-pity, can't it? Oh, poor me. Why does everybody like them but not me? Even if I try, I'll never be as good as them. It's not fair. So jealousy creates the conditions for self-pity to arise, and self-pity is so irresistible. It's captivating. It's even addictive, isn't it? Because it thinks, oh, poor me, and I get to be the center of the universe again. So they're better looking than me. They're more talented than me. They're more popular than me. Venerable's given us a lot of these lists. They're more skilled than me. People notice them. They don't notice me. They have better opportunities than I've had. Everybody's always better than me. I'm just worthless. We can spend our whole life creating a story like that in our mind. I created one last night, and Venerable Simke helped me out of it. Thank you very much. So what's important to recognize is that self-pity doesn't help. It just keeps us stuck. And it can be a little embarrassing to admit how many pity parties we throw for ourselves. But that recognition is what allows us to start changing. So how do we do that? Well, we have to watch our thoughts, first of all. And that's where a mindfulness practice really comes in handy, to start listening to what am I saying to myself all day long, so that we have a better chance of catching the unskillful and destructive thoughts, like self-pity, that are often just below the conscious surface, but are influencing our behavior. And then we can begin questioning our perceptions, like, is my entire life really ruined because someone else got what I wanted and I didn't? Really? Really? Would I really be perfectly happy just getting that, fill in the blank? Really? Would you be that happy? Is it true nobody likes me and there's nothing good happening in my life? Really? Come on. We take ourselves so seriously with these states of mind, like self-pity and jealousy. And the fact is that every minute we devote to our self-pity party, that's 60 seconds devoted to misery instead of creating the causes for getting out of it. So what can we do? Well, one thing we can easily do is to practice gratitude. Start focusing on what's going well in our lives. Just the fact that we're alive and that we have clean air and clean water to breathe and drink. We can get out and help others. It's so hard to feel sorry for yourself when you're helping others less fortunate. So then that brings us to really looking at some of the disadvantages of jealousy. So one method we can use to let go of jealousy is to convince ourselves beyond a shadow of the doubt of the disadvantages, that it's not in our best interest, and to know just how harmful and damaging it is to us. And then naturally we want to move away from it. So instead of me giving you that list, I think it's much more effective if each one of us make our own list of the disadvantages of jealousy. And that brings us to one of the antidotes that starts chipping away at a lot of these afflictions, which is self-acceptance. It's hard for us to admit that we're jealous because at its core is this painful belief that we're just not good enough. That's hard to admit. It's hard to say out loud. But admitting to jealousy can bring a sense of relief, actually. And it's important that we cultivate self-acceptance in meditation as another important step for overcoming the jealous mind. So how do you meditate on cultivating self-acceptance? Do you have a meditation that you can easily pull out of your computer? Venerable Pete's got one. See her. Okay. And then we have to be careful what we wish for. So that's the first 5 talks. So maybe I'll talk about the next 5 in the next session.